The envelope was sitting on my kitchen counter when I got home. No note, no phone call, just a white envelope with my name on it, written in my sister's handwriting. I set down my bag. I picked it up slowly. Something about it felt wrong, the way a quiet room feels wrong right before someone starts screaming. I opened it. Inside was a catering invoice. 1 page. Clean. Professional. Total due $31,000. My name was listed at the top. As the responsible party, I just stood there. The refrigerator hummed. The kitchen light buzzed. My hands didn't shake, but they wanted to, because 3 weeks earlier, my sister Rachel had gotten married, and I was not there. Not because I didn't want to be, because she never invited me. No save the date, no phone call, no text. I found out about my own sister's wedding the way you find out about a stranger's, through a photo on social media. Her dress was beautiful. The flowers were white and gold. She was smiling so wide it looked like it hurt. I didn't cry. I told myself I was past it, but I was not past it. And now, holding a $31,000 bill with my name on it, I understood that this was not over, not even close. To understand how we got here. It started 8 months before the wedding, before the silence, before the bill, before I had to choose between being the bigger person and finally telling the truth. Rachel and I grew up in the same small house in Clover Ridge, Ohio. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen that smelled like coffee every morning because our mother never let the pot go cold. We were not close the way some sisters are close. We did not braid each other's hair or share secrets at night. But we were family, and for a long time, that felt like enough. I was the older one. By 4 years. That matters. It always mattered, though nobody said it out loud. I was the one who got good grades and left Clover Ridge for college on a partial scholarship. I was the one who worked 2 jobs to cover what the scholarship didn't. I was the one who called home every Sunday, even when the calls were short and a little cold. Rachel was the one who stayed. She stayed close to our mother. She stayed in the same town. She married a man named Derek, who sold insurance and coached youth soccer. She built a life that looked exactly like the life our parents had built, and she was proud of that. I respected it, truly. But somewhere along the way, my leaving became a problem. Not to me, to her. I didn't see it happening. That's the honest truth. I was busy building something, a career, a life, an apartment in a city 3 states away where nobody knew my last name and nobody expected anything from me except the work I put in every single day. I sent birthday cards. I came home for Christmas, most years. I sent a gift when Rachel got engaged to Derek. A nice one. A kitchen set she had on her registry, plus a personal check to help with the deposit on their venue. That check was for $1,500. I want you to remember that number. 2 open questions were already forming, the kind that don't let you sleep. The first one, why did Rachel cut me out completely? Not just from the wedding, from the conversation, from the chance to even explain myself. The second one, why did she send me the bill instead of just letting it go? Because this was not about money. Not really. This was about something older, something heavier, something that had been sitting between us for years, like a piece of furniture nobody wanted to move because they were afraid of what they'd find underneath it. I put the invoice down on the counter. I poured a glass of water. I stood at my kitchen window and looked out at the street below. Ordinary people walking ordinary lives. And I made a decision. I was not going to ignore this. But I was not going to explode either. I was going to find out exactly what happened, and I was going to handle it with the same thing I had been building quietly my whole life. Discipline. Quiet. Steady. Unshakable discipline. Because that, not anger, not tears, not revenge, was the only thing that had ever actually protected me. I did not call Rachel that night. I wanted to. My phone sat on the counter next to that invoice the whole evening, and I picked it up 3 times. 3 times I found her name in my contacts. 3 times I put the phone back down, because I knew myself. And I knew that if I called her right then, with that bill sitting in front of me and that photo of her wedding still burned into my memory, I would say something I could not take back. So I waited. I made dinner. Pasta. Simple. I ate standing at the counter because sitting felt too calm for what I was feeling inside. I washed the dish, I dried it, I put it away. Then I sat down at my kitchen table with a notepad and a pen, old habit from years of problem-solving at work, and I wrote 3 words at the top of the page. What do I know? Here is what I knew. Rachel and Derek had gotten engaged 14 months ago. I found out through our mother, Diane, who called me on a Tuesday afternoon with so much excitement in her voice that I had to hold the phone away from my ear. I was happy for Rachel, genuinely. I sent the gift, I sent the check, I texted Rachel directly. So happy for you both, can't wait to celebrate with you. She replied with a single heart emoji. I told myself that was just Rachel. She was not a big texter. She was not warm in the way that showed up in words. That was fine. I understood her. What I did not understand was what happened next. The calls home became shorter. Our mother stopped mentioning the wedding around me. I noticed that, but I didn't push. I assumed Rachel was stressed. Planning a wedding is hard. People get overwhelmed. People go quiet. I gave her space. And then, silence. Complete, total, deliberate silence. No bridesmaid ask. No invitation. No phone call saying, "Hey, I need to talk to you about the wedding." Nothing. For 8 months, I heard about Rachel's wedding the same way I heard about everything else in her life at that point, in small pieces, through our mother, like secondhand news about someone I used to know. That hurt more than I let myself admit. I wrote it all down, every piece I could remember. And then I wrote the second question. What don't I know? That list was longer. I didn't know why she had excluded me. I didn't know if Derek was involved. I didn't know if our mother had known about the bill before it arrived on my doorstep. I didn't know who the catering company was or why my name was on a contract I had never signed. That last part was important. I looked at the invoice again. Really looked at it this time, not as a shock, but as a document. The catering company was called Harvest and Grace Events, based in Clover Ridge. The event date matched Rachel's wedding day. The service description listed a sit-down dinner for 180 guests, appetizers, a dessert station, and a late-night snack table. 180 guests. I closed my eyes for a second. Rachel had 180 people at her wedding. Family, friends, neighbors from Clover Ridge. Derek's entire extended family, I was sure, and not me. But my name, my full legal name, was printed at the top of that invoice as the billing contact, which meant someone had given my name to that catering company. Someone had made me financially responsible for a wedding I was not invited to attend. That was not an accident. That was not a clerical error. That was a choice. I called my mother the next morning. It was early, just past 7. Mom was always up by 6. Coffee already made, news already on, her day already organized in the quiet way she had organized every day of her life for as long as I could remember. She picked up on the second ring. "Vivian," she said. Just my name. But the way she said it, careful, like she was stepping onto ice, told me everything. She already knew. "Mom," I said. "Did you know about the bill?" A pause, not long, but long enough. "Rachel told me she was going to reach out to you," Mom said. "I thought she already had." "She didn't reach out," I said. "She mailed me an invoice." Another pause. Longer this time. "Vivian?" I'm not angry right now, I said. And I meant it. I had made myself mean it before I dialed. I just need to understand what's happening. Did Rachel tell you why she put my name on this? My mother let out a long breath, the kind she let out when she was about to say something she had been holding for too long. She said you promised to help with the wedding costs, Mom said quietly. At Christmas, she said you offered. I sat very still. Christmas, 14 months ago. The same Christmas where I had handed Rachel a card with a check inside, the $2,500 deposit check, and said, "Let me know if you need anything else. I want to help." That was it. That was the whole conversation. 5 words. Let me know if you need anything else. And somehow, in Rachel's mind, or in the story Rachel had told herself and our mother and apparently a catering company in Clover Ridge, Ohio, those 5 words had become a promise to cover $31,000 worth of food and flowers and late-night snack tables for 180 people. "Mom," I said slowly. I gave her $1,500 and said let me know if she needed anything. That is not a promise to fund a wedding. "I know, sweetheart," Mom said. And she sounded tired, genuinely tired, like she had been carrying this for a while and was relieved to finally set it down. "Did she run out of money?" I asked. The pause that followed was the longest one yet. "Derek's family pulled their contribution," Mom said. 2 weeks before the wedding. There was some disagreement. Rachel didn't want to cancel. She had already paid for the venue and the dress and the flowers. The catering bill was the only one left unpaid. I stared at the ceiling. "And instead of calling me," I said, "she just put my name on the contract." "She was embarrassed," Mom said softly, "and she was angry. And when Rachel gets both of those things at the same time, she makes bad decisions," I finished. "Yes," Mom said, almost a whisper. "She does." I thanked my mother. I told her I loved her. I hung up. Then I sat in my kitchen in the morning quiet and let everything settle, the way silt settles to the bottom of a glass of water if you just stop shaking it. Rachel was embarrassed. Rachel was angry. Rachel had made a decision that was, on every legal and moral level, completely wrong. And still, underneath all of it, I felt something I did not expect to feel. Not rage, grief. Because what I had just learned was not really about a catering bill. It was about the fact that my sister had been in crisis, real financial, emotional crisis, 2 weeks before her wedding. And she had not called me. She had not trusted me. She had not believed, even for one moment, that I would show up for her. And maybe, just maybe, that was not entirely her fault. That thought sat with me all morning, quiet and heavy and honest. I gave myself 3 days before I did anything. 3 days to think clearly. 3 days to stop reacting and start deciding. 3 days of going to work, eating normal meals, sleeping normal hours, and letting the whole situation breathe. On the 3rd day, I called a lawyer friend of mine, not to sue anyone, not yet, just to understand where I stood. Her name was Priya. We had been friends since college. She was sharp, fast, and she never softened things just to be kind. "Did you sign anything?" she asked. First question. No hello, no warm-up. "No," I said. "Did you give written confirmation that you'd cover costs?" "No. I wrote a check for $1,500 and said let me know if you need anything." Priya was quiet for exactly 2 seconds. "Then you don't owe them $1, she said. "Your name on an invoice means nothing if you never signed a contract. The catering company can't collect from you legally. They'd have to go after Rachel and Derek." I exhaled slowly. "But," Priya added, and I knew there was a but. "If you ignore it completely, they might try anyway. Send a certified letter. State clearly that you are not a party to this contract. Do it soon." "Okay," I said. Vivian. Her voice shifted, softer now. Are you all right? I looked out my window. Same street, same ordinary people. I'm working on it, I said. I sent the letter that same afternoon. Certified mail. Clean, professional language. No emotion in it at all, just the facts. I was not a signatory. I had no contractual agreement with Harvest and Grace Events. I was not responsible for this debt. Priya reviewed it before I sent it. She changed 2 words and told me it was good. Done. The legal side, at least. The sister side was a different problem entirely. I thought about what my mother had said. That Rachel was embarrassed, that Rachel was angry, that when she got both at the same time, she made bad decisions. I had always known that about Rachel, even as kids. When we were young, Rachel maybe 9, me 13, she had broken our mother's favorite ceramic bowl. An accident. She was reaching for something on the high shelf and it slipped. The bowl hit the floor and shattered into a dozen pieces. I watched her face in that moment. That quick flash of panic. And then, instead of telling Mom, Rachel swept the pieces under the kitchen cabinet and said nothing for 3 days. By the time Mom found the shards, the story Rachel told was so tangled and strange that nobody could quite figure out what had happened. She was not a liar by nature. She was a hider. She buried the things that made her feel small. She had buried this too, until it got too heavy. And then she didn't come to me. She dropped it on my doorstep and walked away. On the 5th day after the invoice arrived, my phone rang. Unknown number, Ohio area code. I answered. Vivian. Rachel's voice, flat, careful, like she was reading from a script she had written and rewritten a dozen times. Rachel, I said, just as calm. Silence for a moment, the kind that has weight. I heard you sent a letter to the catering company, she said. So Mom had told her. Or Derek had. Someone had. I did, I said, because my name should not have been on that contract. I thought. She stopped, started again. You said you wanted to help. I gave you $1,500 and said let me know if you needed anything, I said. That's not a blank check, Rachel. That was never a blank check. I know, she said. Quietly. So quietly I almost missed it. That surprised me. I had expected defense, excuses, another version of a story that made me the problem. Then why? I asked. And my voice cracked, just slightly, just enough. Why didn't you just call me? If you were 2 weeks out and the money fell through, why didn't you just pick up the phone and call me? Rachel didn't answer right away. The silence stretched long enough that I could hear her breathing. Because I didn't think you'd come, she finally said. 3 words that hit harder than the $31,000 bill ever could. I didn't think you'd come. Rachel. You never come, Vivian. Her voice cracked now too, all that careful flatness breaking apart. You send money, you send gifts, you send cards with nice handwriting, but you never just come. You weren't there when Mom had her procedure last year. You weren't there for Derek's father's funeral. You are never just here. I sat with that, because she was not entirely wrong. I had sent flowers when their mother had her knee procedure. I had sent a handwritten card for the funeral. I had told myself that was enough, that it counted, that showing up in small ways from a distance was the same as showing up. It was not the same. I knew that. Somewhere underneath all my discipline and my carefully organized life, I had always known that. You still should have called me, I said. My voice was steady, but soft. No matter what you thought I'd do, you should have called. I know, Rachel said again. And this time the silence that followed wasn't heavy. It was just tired. 2 sisters, 3 states apart, finally telling each other the truth for the first time in years. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. But it was a beginning. The call ended without a resolution. No apology, no plan. No moment where everything suddenly made sense, and we both laughed and said, "Can you believe this happened?" Just two tired voices agreeing to talk again soon, and then the line went quiet. I put my phone down and stared at the wall for a long moment. Something had shifted. I could feel it, the way you feel a change in weather before it actually arrives. The air pressure changes first, then everything else follows. But shifted was not the same as fixed, and I was not naive enough to confuse the two. The next morning I went to work early. I was a project manager at a mid-size construction firm. Commercial buildings mostly, offices, medical centers, one very complicated parking structure that had taken 2 years and aged me considerably. My job was to keep things moving, to watch 20 problems at once and decide which one needed attention right now and which ones could wait. I was good at it. People at work knew me as calm, organized, the person you called when something was falling apart and you needed someone who wouldn't panic. Nobody at work knew that my sister had sent me a $31,000 catering bill for a wedding I wasn't invited to. Nobody knew I had spent the last 5 days quietly dismantling the situation, one careful step at a time. I kept those two worlds very separate. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, made a list of everything that needed to happen that day, and at the very top, above every work task, I wrote one line: "Call Harvest and Grace. Confirm letter received." I called them just before lunch. The woman who answered was polite but cautious. She had clearly already spoken to someone about this situation. I could hear it in the careful way she chose her words. "Ms. Vivian," she said, "we did receive your letter. Our billing department is reviewing it." "Thank you," I said. "I want to be clear. I have no contract with your company. I wish you no difficulty in collecting what you're owed, but the responsible parties are the couple who booked your services." A brief pause. "We understand," she said. "Good," I said. "I appreciate your professionalism." And that was that. 37 seconds. Done. I crossed the first line off my list and moved on with my day. What I did not expect was Derek. He called me that evening. His name came up on my screen and I almost didn't answer, but something told me I should. "Vivian." His voice was tight, controlled. The voice of a man who had prepared what he wanted to say but was not entirely comfortable saying it. "Derek," I said. "I want you to know," he started, "that I did not agree with what Rachel did, with the invoice, with any of it." I waited. Let him keep going. "She was in a bad place after my family pulled out," he said. "She didn't tell me she had done it until after she'd already mailed it." I was angry, too. "I want you to know that." "I appreciate you saying that," I said carefully. "I also want you to know." He paused, cleared his throat. "She didn't exclude you from the wedding because she doesn't love you. She excluded you because she was scared you'd say no, and she didn't want to feel that in front of everyone." I closed my eyes. There it was. Not malice, not hatred, not some grand scheme to hurt me. Fear. Rachel had been afraid that she would invite her older sister, the one who was always somewhere else, always busy, always sending gifts instead of herself. And that sister would send a polite reply saying, "Sorry, can't make it. Here's something from your registry." So she had made the decision first. She had uninvited me before I could uninvite myself. That was the most Rachel thing I had ever heard in my life, and it broke my heart completely. "Derek," I said slowly, "why didn't she just talk to me? Any of this, the money, the wedding, the fear, why didn't she just say it out loud?" "Because she's Rachel," he said. Simple, tired, like a man who loved his wife completely and also understood exactly who she was. I almost smiled. Almost. "Is she there?" I asked. "She's in the other room." "Tell her I'm not going to pay the bill," I said. Not because I don't want to help, but because that's not how you ask for help, and we both know that. Derek was quiet. "But also, tell her—" I stopped, took a breath. "Tell her I would have come. If she had asked me, I would have come to her wedding." A long silence. "I'll tell her," Derek said softly. "And Derek?" I said. "Yeah? Take care of that catering bill. Work something out with them. Payment plan, whatever it takes. That is your responsibility, yours and Rachel's." "I know," he said. "We already called them this morning." "Good. That was good." "Okay," I said. "Okay," he said. We hung up. I sat in my apartment in the quiet that followed. The invoice was still on my kitchen counter. I picked it up one more time, looked at my name printed at the top, Vivian Marsh, responsible party, and felt the last of the anger drain out of me. Not because what Rachel did was acceptable. It was not. But because I finally understood the whole picture. Not just the bill. Not just the missing invitation. The whole thing. Two sisters who had been failing each other in small, quiet ways for years. One who left and kept leaving. One who stayed and kept score. Neither of us entirely innocent. Both of us tired. I folded the invoice in half and placed it in my desk drawer. Not thrown away, not forgotten. Just set aside. For now. A week passed. No calls from Rachel. No calls from Derek. No further letters from Harvest and Grace events. Just quiet. And I had learned, a long time ago, that quiet was not always peaceful. Sometimes quiet was just the pause between one hard thing and the next. I kept my routine, work, gym, dinner, sleep. The same steady rhythm I had built for myself over years of living alone in a city where nobody knew my history and nobody needed anything from me. That routine had always felt like freedom. That week, for the first time, it felt a little like a cage. My mother called on Thursday evening. Not about the bill. Not about Rachel. She called the way she sometimes called, just to talk. To tell me about her neighbor's new dog. To ask if I was eating enough. To fill the space between us with small, ordinary words the way she had always done. I let her. I sat on my couch with my feet up and listened to my mother talk about a dog named Biscuit who had dug up her rose bushes. And somewhere in the middle of it, I felt something loosen in my chest. Something I hadn't realized was tight until it wasn't anymore. "Mom," I said, when she paused. "Hmm? Did you know? When it was happening, the wedding planning, Rachel pulling away, did you know she wasn't going to invite me?" A long pause. "I suspected," Mom said carefully. "Why didn't you say something?" "Because she's my daughter too," she said. "And I didn't want to be in the middle of it. I know that's not what you want to hear." It wasn't, but it was honest. And I respected honest more than comfortable. "I'm not angry at you," I said. "I know, sweetheart." A soft exhale. "Are you angry at her?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "I was," I said. "Now I'm mostly just sad for both of us." Mom was quiet for a moment. "That's very grown up of you," she said. "Don't sound so surprised," I said. She laughed, small and warm. The laugh I had grown up with. I held on to it. Rachel called on Saturday morning. No script this time. I could tell immediately. Her voice was looser, less prepared. Like she had picked up the phone before she had fully decided what she was going to say. "Hey," she said. "Hey," I said. Silence, but a softer kind. "Derek told me what you said," she said. "That you would have come." "I would have," I said. I didn't think. I know you didn't, I said. But Rachel, you didn't ask. You just decided for me, and that's not fair. She didn't argue. That was new. I know, she said. I know it wasn't fair. I pulled my knees up to my chest on the couch. Outside my window, the city was doing its usual Saturday morning thing. Slow and unhurried, people with coffee cups, a dog walker, a kid on a bicycle too big for him. Ordinary life, moving forward without asking permission. The catering company called Derek yesterday, Rachel said. They agreed to a payment plan. We're handling it. Good, I said. I'm sorry I put your name on it, she said. It was wrong. I know it was wrong. Yes, I said simply. It was. No, it's okay. No, don't worry about it. Because it was not okay, and she needed to hear that clearly. Not harshly, but clearly. There is a difference. Rachel accepted it. No defense. No deflection. Another new thing. Can I ask you something? Rachel said after a moment. Go ahead. Do you actually want to be close? Do you actually want us to be close? Or is this just obligation? Because sometimes it feels like obligation. The question landed hard. I sat with it instead of rushing to answer, because she deserved a real answer, not a fast one. I want to be close, I said, but I don't always know how. I left and built this whole life, and somewhere along the way, I think I convinced myself that distance was just who I was, like it was a personality trait instead of a choice. It hurt, Rachel said quietly. Every time. Christmas, Mom's procedure, Derek's dad. It hurt. I know, I said. I'm sorry for that. Genuinely. Another silence, but this one felt different from all the previous ones. Less like a wall, more like a door, closed, but not locked. I still can't believe you sent me that bill, I said. A beat. Then, unexpectedly, Rachel made a sound. Half laugh, half something embarrassed. It was so stupid, she said. I mailed it and immediately wanted to drive to your apartment and steal it back from your mailbox. Why didn't you? Because I was still angry, she said, and stubborn. And, I don't know, I think part of me wanted you to have to deal with something that couldn't be handled from 3 states away with a check and a nice card. I understood that. Completely. She had sent me a problem that required me to pick up the phone, to show up, even if only by voice, to be present in a way that a gift or a card could never be. It was the most destructive, most expensive, most completely Rachel way of saying I need my sister. Next time, I said, just call me. Next time, I won't mail you a $31,000 bill, she said. That's a low bar, Rachel. She laughed again. Fuller this time. More like herself. And I laughed, too. Quietly, carefully, but genuinely. That laugh was small. It didn't fix 8 months of silence or 4 years of slow distance. It didn't erase the invoice or the wedding photos I had seen on a screen instead of in person. But it was real. And real, even when it's small, is always worth something. I had spent so many years being disciplined about everything except this. Except her. Except the relationship I had been quietly letting go of one missed moment at a time. That was going to change. Not all at once, not perfectly, but it was going to change. 3 days after that phone call, I booked a flight to Ohio. I didn't tell Rachel first. I told my mother, because Mom needed to know, and because I wanted at least one person in Clover Ridge who would be genuinely happy to see me walk through a door. How long? Mom asked. She tried to keep the excitement out of her voice. She failed completely. 4 days, I said. I have a Monday morning meeting I can't move, but I can be there Friday through Sunday night. I'll make the guest room up, she said immediately. Like the decision had already been made the moment I said Ohio. Mom, you don't have to. I'm already doing it, she said. Don't argue with me. I smiled. First real smile in 2 weeks. Okay, I said. Don't argue with you. I landed in Columbus on a Friday afternoon. Mom was waiting at arrivals. She was smaller than I remembered, or maybe I just always forgot, in between visits, how small she actually was. Gray hair she had stopped fighting years ago, a coat she had owned since I was in high school. The same steady eyes that had watched me grow up and leave and come back changed every single time. She hugged me before I even got both arms free of my carry-on strap. "Hi, Mom," I said into her shoulder. "Hi, sweetheart," she said. We stood there for a moment longer than necessary, right there in the arrivals hall with people moving around us in every direction. Neither of us moved. She had made pot roast for dinner, the kind that had been in the slow cooker all day. The smell hit me the second I walked into the house, and something in my chest did a complicated thing that I didn't have words for. Home. That smell was home, even when home was complicated. Even when home came with history and unresolved things, and a sister who had mailed me a catering invoice instead of a wedding invitation. It was still home. We ate at the kitchen table, just the two of us. Mom asked about work. I told her about the parking structure project, the difficult client, the small victory of a deadline met 2 days early. She listened the way she always listened, completely, like nothing else existed. "You love that job," she said. "I do," I said, surprised to realize how simply true it was. "You always needed something to build," she said. "Even as a little girl, you were always organizing something, your books, your closet, the neighborhood kids into teams." I laughed softly. "I remember." "Rachel used to follow you everywhere," Mom said, casual, like she wasn't watching my face carefully. "Before you left for college, she thought everything you did was the most interesting thing in the world." I looked down at my plate. "I didn't know that," I said. "You weren't supposed to," Mom said gently. "She was 12. 12-year-olds don't announce that kind of thing." I texted Rachel that evening. Short, simple. "I'm in Clover Ridge, at Mom's. No pressure. But if you want to get coffee tomorrow, I'm here." I put my phone down and didn't stare at it. That was discipline. Small, but real. 40 minutes later, she replied, "Tomorrow at 10. The place on Elm. You probably don't remember it, but it's good." I did remember it. It had been a hardware store when we were kids. I didn't say that. "I'll be there," I replied. The coffee shop on Elm Street was warm and slightly overcrowded for a Saturday morning. Local art on the walls, mismatched chairs, the kind of place that had clearly become the center of something in a small town. The place people came not just for coffee, but to be seen, to belong, to exist alongside their neighbors. Rachel was already there when I arrived. She looked tired, not badly, just the kind of tired that comes from carrying something heavy for a long time and only recently setting it down. Her hair was shorter than the last time I had seen her in person. She was wearing a sweater I didn't recognize, married woman rings on her finger that I was seeing for the first time in real life instead of in a photo. She stood up when she saw me. We looked at each other for a second. Then I stepped forward and hugged her. She hugged me back, tight, the way you hug someone when you've been waiting longer than you realized. "Hi," she said. "Hi," I said. We sat down. The first few minutes were careful, surface things. Her job. She worked at the county administrative office, had been there 6 years. Derek's soccer coaching, the apartment they were renting while they saved for a house. Ordinary life, moving forward. I listened, really listened, not waiting for my turn to speak, not organizing the conversation the way I organized projects at work, just listening. And slowly, the carefulness loosened. "Derek's family came around," Rachel said, wrapping both hands around her mug. "After the wedding, his aunt called and apologized. Apparently there was some old argument that got dragged into the wrong moment." "Are things okay with them now?" "Getting there," she said. "It's slow." I nodded. I understood slow. "Rachel," I said, "I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly." She looked up, steady, ready. "Is there more?" I said. "More that I missed, not just the wedding, other things. Things you needed me for, and I wasn't there." She was quiet for a moment. "Mom's procedure," she said. "That was hard. She was scared, and I was scared, and I wanted you there, not your flowers. You." "I should have come," I said. "Yeah," she said simply. "You should have." No softening it. No, it's fine. It worked out. Just the plain truth spoken without cruelty. I respected that more than I expected to. "I'm going to do better," I said. "Not perfectly. I'm not going to pretend I'll be here for everything. But for the things that matter, I'll show up. Rachel looked at me for a long moment. Okay, she said. Not I forgive you. Not that makes everything better. Just, okay. I hear you. Let's see. That was fair. That was exactly right. We stayed for 2 hours, ordered second coffees. At some point, the conversation stopped being careful entirely and became just two sisters talking. Old memories surfacing, stupid things from childhood, the ceramic bowl she had broken and hidden under the cabinet. You knew, she said, eyes wide. I watched it happen, I said, and you never said anything. I was waiting to see how long it would take you to crack, I said. She stared at me. Then she laughed. Loud, genuine, the kind of laugh that made the people at the next table glance over and smile without knowing why. 3 days, she said. It took me 3 days. I know, I said. I counted. Walking out into the cold Clover Ridge afternoon, side by side, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not fixed, not resolved, not the clean ending that problems at work had when you finally closed them out. Just present, here, in this town, with this person, my sister. Quietly, slowly, finding our way back to something we had both let drift too far. That was enough for now, more than enough. Sunday dinner was Mom's idea. She announced it Saturday evening. Casual, like it had just occurred to her. But I could tell by the way she said it that she had been planning it since the moment I booked my flight. Just the family, she said. You, me, Rachel, Derek. Nothing big. I'll make lasagna. Nothing big, sure. Did you already invite them? I asked. Rachel said yes 20 minutes ago, Mom said, not even slightly embarrassed about it. I shook my head, smiled. Okay, I said. Lasagna sounds good. Derek arrived first. He came in through the back door the way people do when they've been coming to a house long enough to stop knocking, comfortable, familiar, a 6-pack of sparkling water under one arm because he had learned years ago that Mom didn't drink and he wanted to be considerate. I liked him immediately for that. He shook my hand when he saw me, firm, direct, a little awkward, but honest awkward, not fake awkward. Vivian, he said, good to finally meet you. In person. You too, I said. We stood in Mom's kitchen for a moment with that specific discomfort of two people who had spoken on the phone during a difficult situation and were now standing 3 feet apart in normal life, trying to figure out how to be around each other. Mom handed us both something to do, him the bread, me the salad, and the awkwardness dissolved the way it always does when people have tasks. Rachel arrived 15 minutes later. She came in through the front door. Knocked first, and I noticed Mom noticed that, a small flicker of something across her face. Old habit broken, small thing, meaningful. She was carrying dessert, a store-bought pie, apple, in a white bakery box. She held it up when she saw me. I didn't bake it, she said immediately. I want credit for buying it and zero blame if it's bad. Noted, I said. Derek took the pie from her. She shrugged off her coat. Mom appeared from the kitchen, wiped her hands on her apron, and pulled Rachel into a hug the way mothers hug, completely, without strategy. For a second, Rachel looked exactly like the 12-year-old who used to follow me everywhere. Then she straightened up, caught me looking, raised an eyebrow. What? She said. Nothing, I said. You look good. She looked slightly suspicious, like she wasn't sure if that was the beginning of something or just a sentence. Thanks, she said carefully. It's just a compliment, Rachel. I know. A pause. You look good, too. Dinner was loud in the best way. Mom's lasagna was exactly what it had always been, the kind of food that made you stop talking mid-sentence just to appreciate it. Derek turned out to be genuinely funny in a quiet, dry way that snuck up on you. He said something about his soccer kids that made Mom laugh so hard she had to set her fork down. And Rachel at a dinner table in her element, in the town she had always belonged to, was warm in a way I had forgotten, easy and quick and full of stories told with her hands moving. I watched her and thought, I miss this. I actually miss this, and I didn't even know I was missing it. It was Derek who brought it up. Not the bill directly, just the edges of it. He did it carefully, the way you open a window in winter, just enough air, not enough cold. I want to say something, he said, setting his fork down, looking at me directly. about everything that happened. The table got a little quieter. "I should have called you earlier," he said. "When the money fell through and when things got hard, I should have picked up the phone and called her sister. That was on me too." I looked at him. Steady, solid man. Sitting at my mother's table taking responsibility without being asked. "I appreciate that," I said. "I mean it," he said. "Family should call family, even when it's uncomfortable." Rachel was looking at her plate, but she was nodding slightly. Small movement. Real. "We're handling the catering company," he continued. "Payment plan is set up. It'll take a while, but we'll clear it." "I know," I said. "I'm glad." Then I looked at Rachel. She looked up, met my eyes. "I need to say it properly," she said. Her voice was quieter now. The table-loud warmth from 5 minutes ago, replaced by something more careful, more honest. "Not on the phone. Here." She took a small breath. "I was wrong," she said. "Not just the bill, all of it. Shutting you out, deciding for you, making you find out about my wedding through a photo online." Her jaw tightened slightly. "That was cruel. I didn't let myself call it that, but it was. It was cruel and you didn't deserve it." The kitchen was very quiet. The refrigerator hummed softly in the corner. "Thank you," I said. "I'm sorry, Vivian." 2 words I had not realized I needed until I heard them. Not "I'm sorry," but not "I'm sorry you felt." Just, "I'm sorry," clean, direct, real. "I'm sorry too," I said. "For the years of almost showing up, for making you feel like you were less important than whatever I had going on 3 states away. You weren't. You never were." Rachel pressed her lips together, nodded once. Eyes bright, but steady. Mom reached out and put one hand over Rachel's and one hand over mine, both at the same time, like she had been waiting for exactly this moment and had calculated the geometry of it in advance. Maybe she had. We ate the apple pie after. It was actually very good. Rachel looked unreasonably smug about it for someone who had explicitly not baked it. "Store-bought can be good," she said. "Nobody argued with you," Derek said. "I'm just saying." "Rachel, nobody argued." I looked at the 2 of them. The easy back and forth of 2 people who knew each other completely, irritating habits and all, and had chosen each other anyway. I was glad I was here to see it. Not through a screen, not in a photo. Here, in person, at the table. That was the difference. That had always been the difference. Mom walked me to the guest room that night, stood in the doorway the way she used to stand in doorways when I was young, just present, just there, not needing to say anything in particular. "Good day," she said. "Yeah," I said. "Good day," she smiled, quiet and full. "Come back sooner next time," she said. "I will," I said. And this time, I meant it without qualification, without the silent asterisk I had always attached to promises about coming home. Just, I will. Simple, whole, true. I flew home on Sunday night, window seat, clouds below, Ohio disappearing underneath me the way it always did, slowly at first, then all at once, but this time felt different from every other time I had flown away from Clover Ridge. Every other time I had felt relief. The specific relief of someone who loves a place, but loves their freedom more. The exhale of a person stepping back into their own life after a visit that was good but long enough. This time I felt something quieter, not relief. More like gratitude. The kind that sits low and warm in your chest and doesn't ask for anything. I pressed my forehead lightly against the cold window and watched the lights of small towns pass below me. Each one a grid of yellow and white. Each one full of people eating dinner, arguing, laughing, sitting in silence together. Full of sisters who had fought and sisters who hadn't spoken in years and sisters who were, right now, figuring out how to find their way back to each other. I thought about Rachel at that kitchen table, her hands moving when she talked, the apple pie she hadn't baked but was proud of anyway. I thought about Derek shaking my hand at the back door. Mom in the arrivals hall, smaller than I remembered, hugging me before I had both arms free. I thought about a 12-year-old girl following her older sister everywhere, thinking everything she did was the most interesting thing in the world, and never once saying so out loud. I had not known that. I wished I had known it sooner. 2 weeks after I got home, a small package arrived from Clover Ridge. No invoice this time, just a padded envelope, soft and light. My name in Rachel's handwriting, the same handwriting that had been on the invoice that started all of this. But different now somehow. Less sharp, more like herself. Inside was a photograph, printed on good paper, slightly glossy, framed in a simple thin frame the color of walnut wood. It was a photo of the two of us. Old. Very old. We were kids. I was maybe 10, Rachel 6. We were sitting on the front steps of the Clover Ridge house, squinting into summer sunlight. Rachel had both arms wrapped around one of mine, leaning into my shoulder with her whole small body. I was looking at the camera, but laughing at something, mouth open, completely unguarded in the way you can only be when you don't know anyone is watching. I didn't remember the photo being taken. I didn't remember that afternoon at all. But there we were, evidence of something that had existed long before the distance, long before the missed Christmases and the cards with nice handwriting and the gifts sent in place of presents. There we were, just two sisters on a porch in the summer, complete, easy, whole. There was a small note card tucked behind the frame. Rachel's handwriting again, just 3 lines. Found this in Mom's albums. Thought you should have it. I'm sorry it took so long. Come back soon. I set the frame on my kitchen windowsill. Right there. Where I could see it from the counter. From the table. From anywhere I stood in that kitchen. Next to it, still there, still folded in half, was the invoice. I had never thrown it away. I wasn't sure why. Now I knew why. I picked it up one last time. Looked at my name at the top, Vivian Marsh, responsible party, and finally understood the strange mercy buried in those 2 words. Responsible party. Maybe that was the truest thing on the whole document. Not in the way Rachel had meant it when she sent it. Not financially responsible, not legally responsible, but responsible in the larger sense, the older sister sense. I was responsible for showing up. For not letting 4 years of small absences quietly become the whole story of us. For understanding that discipline without warmth was just distance with better excuses. I had spent years being proud of how cleanly I managed my life, how organized, how self-sufficient, how unbothered by the things that overwhelmed other people. But you cannot organize your way out of loneliness. You cannot manage your way into being loved. You have to show up. That is the whole secret. That is all it ever was. I called Rachel that evening. No reason, no agenda, nothing to resolve or discuss or carefully navigate. She picked up on the 3rd ring. "Hey," she said, background noise behind her, Derek saying something, a TV, the ordinary sounds of a shared life. "Hey," I said. "I got the photo," a smile in her voice, immediate, warm. "Mom found it in a box in the closet," she said. "There are more. She has like 4 albums of us being feral children. I want to see them," I said. "Come back and you can." "I'm looking at flights," I said. "December, before Christmas this time, not just for the day." A pause, brief and full. "Yeah?" she said. "Yeah," I said. "Okay." Her voice was easy, happy in the quiet way that real happiness usually is, not loud, not performed, just present. "I'll tell Mom. She'll make the guest room up immediately." "She'll make the guest room up before I even hang up," I said. Rachel laughed, and I laughed. And we talked for 40 minutes about nothing important. Derek's soccer team, a show she was watching, a difficult coworker I had been dealing with for 3 weeks, a restaurant in my neighborhood she wanted to hear about. Ordinary things. Beautiful, ordinary things. The invoice is still on my windowsill, next to the photograph. I keep them both there on purpose. The invoice to remember what silence costs. The slow, compounding price of absence and pride and distance dressed up as independence. The photograph to remember what was always there underneath it. Before the miles, before the missed moments, before 2 sisters forgot, for a little while, that they had chosen each other first, back on a porch in the summer, squinting into the sun. Some things break cleanly. You sweep up the pieces, and that's that. But some things break the way that old ceramic bowl broke, loudly, suddenly, into more pieces than you expected. And you have 2 choices. You can hide the pieces under the cabinet and hope nobody notices, or you can pick them up, carefully, one by one, and build something better than what you had before. We chose the second thing. It wasn't fast, it wasn't perfect. It didn't come with an apology that fixed everything, or a conversation that tied every loose end into a bow. It came in pieces. A phone call, a coffee, a Sunday dinner, a photograph in a padded envelope, a flight booked for December. Quiet steps, steady and real. That is how most true things are built, not all at once, not loudly, not perfectly, but with discipline, with patience, with the willingness to keep showing up even when showing up is hard, especially then. If this story reminded you of someone, a sister, a brother, a person you love but haven't called in too long, share it with them. Not because it fixes anything, but because sometimes a story says the thing we haven't found words for yet. Share it with someone who might need it. You never know what a small gesture can open. Follow along for more stories like this. Real, human, honest. And before you go, one question. Have you ever been shut out by someone you loved, only to realize the door swung both ways? What did you do? Leave it in the comments. Someone down there needs to read your answer.